Good morning, and again, our apologies for the last meeting where we did not have quorum, and we do have quorum on this meeting. And as I stated, for all the time I've been on HART, both stints, that was the first time that that ever happened to me. But having said that, I'm going to call this meeting to order, which is a continuation of the last one. This is February 27th, 2024, and it is just about 8:50 a.m. I'm going to begin first by the calling of the roll. Kika Bukowski.
Present.
Anthony Alto.
Present.
Don Takeuchi Apuna is excused. Michelle Chan Boongrabber.
Present.
Natalie Iwasa.
Here.
Thank you. Roger Morton.
Present.
Joe O'Donnell looks like he's excused. Ed Sniffen is excused. Art Tolentino.
Present.
Thank you. Edwin Young. Is Edwin out of state? I think so. I thought he was going to join. Okay, for now, Edwin is excused. Robert Yu.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum. First of all, let's see, is there anyone here to present public testimony on all agenda items? Seeing no one, and though we don't need to do it, I do it anyway. Anyone online? No one. Thank you very much. So let's begin. Well, before we begin, do we have any hard stops today? Anybody leave?
I have one.
What time?
Lori and I are board members on another board.
What time? What time? One
I have
o'clock?
to be online at 1, so I mean, I gotta.
Okay. Oh, I'm hoping that we'll be done by then. But anyway, so let's just begin with the executive agenda item number 3, the executive director and CEO's update. Again, I have to ask anyone here to testify on this agenda item. Seeing none, hearing none. Okay, Laurie?
Good morning, thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Turn in your folder. So based on the feedback from you folks, we updated the open positions, and it's also recorded. So of all of the positions that we put in request to fill in our budget, all optioned out, the ones that are higher priority, now everything is on here. You can see the green are our top priorities. We still have the CFO, Director of Finance, Records Management Analyst 2, and then Civil Engineer 3, Quality Assurance. The two other ones, the CFO is obvious, but the other two, we don't have redundancy for these positions, so that's why it's very critical. And then, yeah, you can just see by the different colors. So we're still recruiting for the pink, and then the blue is to be determined. We have not started to advertise for that yet.
Anything else?
No.
Members, let's take this because this chart and what we've asked for has been an issue with this board. Anyone have any questions on this chart? Anyone? Michelle?
Okay, so for city positions, like, I guess not hard, but are there instances where there are directed transfers from other areas to fill needs, sort of like corporation counsel kind of covers for other people? How does that work? Because you've worked for the city for a long time, and does that apply to HART?
No, because it's PSCs. So you're saying like maybe we transfer from one section in HART to another section?
No, I'm saying like maybe you could borrow somebody from another department or get a directed assignment for somebody for a certain period of time, and borrow them sort of until you get somebody.
Something like a temporary transfer?
Yeah, like a temporary
you know
transfer.
What? I think we can. I'd have to check. I thought in the charter there was one that the mayor has authority
Right,
to bring a person.
right.
Yes,
I think that was time specific though. When we started, he had that ability.
Oh, I
That's
see.
my
I'm
recollection.
just worried because some of them it's just really incredibly challenging to find someone. I mean, if you look at the chief financial officer, director of finance, that one in particular, you kind of really can't not have one, right? It would significantly impact the ability to function as an organization. And do we need somebody to help us from outside? You know what I'm saying, Lori? Is that, you know, you kind of pulled out all stops and you tried to do everything you could to recruit, and we're still unable to get somebody in. I don't want to steal someone, but I also think that if there is the ability for a loan, for example,
Yes.
or review of some of what we're doing by another department so that we can get some help, even if it's not a transfer, it's assistance, right?
Well, that definitely can
Yeah,
do.
should we be asking for those kinds of things so that, you know, we kind of don't go to jail?
Okay, okay.
Does that make
Good
sense?
idea.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Those three, well, I guess the three that you think are the most important are the ones that we probably should really be looking at.
Sure.
And just the two that are like open for 100 days, I mean, I figured we give a chance for engineering to come in. Okay, thank you.
Good idea, thanks.
So we checked the charter, and I'm not sure if we have anybody who fits the requirements, and it is section 17-117, and this is the mayor may transfer civil service position, but the position existing on July 1, 2011, written within any department to the authority. He can do that, but that position has got to be existing on July 1, 2011. So we would have to battle over what is existing on July 1, 2011.
If there's the ability for departments to help each other, though,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah. We can, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you can kind of like,
Do it now.
yeah, we
Yeah.
do it now,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of more
I like it.
talking between the directors and saying, hey, can you like just send somebody over to help us do this? It might be a specific task that's really important to us. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else?
Chair, it's Natalie.
Yes, Natalie?
Yeah, thank
go ahead.
you.
Hey,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Joe O'Donnell is on board. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so on line 11 is the Secretary 3 position, and I'm just wondering why the position is posted, 5 months prior to the incumbent's departure date. It's listed as posted March and departure is August. Is that correct?
Either, that might be a typo, but Natalie, we had 2 secretary positions posted, so maybe it was a mix-up with the time on when one was leaving. But actually, I've been having one-on-ones with all of my staff, and the secretaries, the existing secretaries, have told me we don't need to hire any more secretaries because right now they feel they are underutilized, and so they said, please don't take any more work from us. In fact, give us more work. You do not need to fill the Secretary 3's position.
Well, Sandy's here.
Yeah.
Sandy, you made this chart, right? Do you have an answer for Natalie on that? You can come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sandy.
Line 11.
It's number 11 on it.
This was when incumbent departed, so is it
Other secretary position.
Okay, I think that's just a typo.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
No, that was Natalie. Natalie, it's a typo. Did you hear that?
Right. Yep, thank you.
So how many Secretary 3 positions do we have? So I assume that they're all filled, or?
We have 2 open positions, but as Lori just mentioned, I think we are going to be pausing them for the time being.
You're going to be, I'm sorry.
Pausing, putting them on hold.
Oh,
for the time-
pausing. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
Joe has a question.
Joe, do you have a question? No, thank you. He's just raising his hand. Okay, I have some questions, Sandy, or Laurie, whoever did. So the positions from 18, for example, and also project manager 1, there's a lot in the 18 to 33 category that have been departed from in 2021. Well, there's one 2019, 2021. Well, there's a 2015. So I assume these are probably not going to be filled and you're not going to be recruiting for them? Would that be a correct assessment? Is there a time, like if we see something at 2015, 2019, or 2021, would it be a good guess that, oh, in 2002? That's a typo. I think you're talking about our board staff assistant was Danny, right? So are you saying 2022 or as opposed to 2002? Do you see
Line
that?
number 4, when Danny left.
That's number 5.
I think
No,
it's
4.
2022.
It should be
yes.
2022, right?
Right.
Okay. But is there some kind of rule of thumb that you're all functioning with as to more than likely, if we were to look at this, we could assume, the board could assume that the position vacant in 2015, 2021, 2019, for example, that those are not high priority and probably will not be recruited for?
Yes, Chair. So for the blue ones, you're absolutely right. When we talked to the managers, they felt these other top 1 through 17 were the priorities. So we only have a couple of people in HR to do the recruitment. And so that's what we focused on. So we can post to advertise for the rest of these, but we thought we would focus in on the high priority ones.
I'm sorry, my question was, are you just kind of going to eliminate those positions, that they're not essential or they're not required? Or are you just, it's a low priority in terms of recruitment, but the position is still one that you are looking to fill?
It's low priority. That's what we would like to try and fill.
But you're still looking to fill them eventually?
Yes.
Even this 2015 position that's been vacant since June 30th, 2015?
Yes. We would like to have a utilities construction engineer.
Can you tell me why that's not, especially given the fact that we're going through Dillingham and all of that now, why a utilities construction engineer is not a higher priority?
Right now, it's being filled by a consultant.
Ah, our infamous consultants. Okay,
The chair.
yes.
So, after we let out the contract for the city centre section, do any of these bottom positions in blue become more urgent?
No, when you listen to Nate, we have, and again, it's mostly consultants. The team that are on the AGS is going to be transferred over to the city center guideway station. So he doesn't anticipate there'll be a big spike in staffing going over, but maybe a few positions. But right now, that team is slated to move over.
Anyone else have any questions? So what is the average recruitment time that you feel that, and at that point, should become a blue? In other words, I see some departure date 21, that's project manager 1. You posted for the position in 2023. So is there some magical number that we're looking at where you're just, after that point, they should become a blue? Is there anything like that?
So what I did was, I went to our records and I did my best to find out who was the last incumbent in that position, and that's how I arrived at the dates, the departure dates.
You're asking, let's say, for the days open, is there some magic number that eventually we're going to just give up? No, there is no magic number. We still have hope. A lot of the pukas we have, unfortunately, are filled with consultants, so we still have hope. Like, even if you look at line number 30, the scheduler, Right now, it's 100%. The scheduling is done by consultants. So the goal is to obviously replace the consultants with city staff, but I believe our salaries are probably too low to even entertain or entice somebody to even apply, or someone with the skill sets that we need. But no, to answer your question, there's no magic number. We're still hopeful that we have it advertised, people will apply, and we would find somebody.
So it seems like our problem is the fact that you can always backstop with the consultant. So there may not be as much of an appetite to go recruit because you can backstop with a consultant. Because a lot of these positions, if they are critical, right, and if you can fill it with a consultant, then why go through the hassle of recruiting? I'm just saying that. That's what it appears like to me.
It might appear like that, but I know that we did have a lot of pushback for how many consultants we had, and over the last several years, we've really tried to reduce that number. But I tend to agree that overall, the salaries are not conducive to finding people that are of the same qualifications to meet the requirements. I don't know if that means that you should stop trying to recruit, right? Does that mean that you stop trying to recruit, or I mean, you're back to, you have an open vacancy. You're gonna have like people just tossing in their resumes into Indeed.com, which means that it takes a lot of effort to go through them all every whatever many weeks or things. So I do think that I kind of have an action, because I think overall we were concerned with salaries matching the skill sets that we needed, and maybe trying to figure out how to work those, because I mean they really are temporary positions, and in the end the project saves money by not having a consultant. So it's more, how do you justify a salary that's somewhere in between the government salary that's starting off and this relatively high consultant salary, so you can kind of get somebody that's qualified, while at the same time being able to, what I would call, temporarily pay them an adequate salary so that they're willing to come as a government person, not a consultant, right? I mean, we have found that, look at Nate, right? Nate's position is if you pay him enough, then yeah, maybe we'll take a little bit of a pay cut, because it's fun being in charge, right? But I don't think we have that solution yet. I think that's a difficult discussion with DHR, with a whole bunch of other things, and maybe asking for some help from outside.
I think, Michelle, maybe what we should task you with is there's also the lack of transparency and scrutiny doing it with consultants. In other words, we don't review it as a board, we don't review it, but if they were technically employees under the rules that we have yet to adopt, so to speak, but basically under the general perception as to how we do recruitment and how we do hiring, right? It's a different situation if it's a city employee, and technically the rules that apply to the administration when it comes to the board scrutiny. But when you do consultants, there is no scrutiny.
Right, even ethical rules or those kinds of things, as well as accountability, right? If you look at PMOC, it's one kind of contractor with subs, right, generally. And when you put consultants out of wherever, we might get the best person, but there's not an overall accountability from an organization like a systems integrator or a systems engineer. And that might alleviate some concerns over time, right? Because then you could put in place into their contract accountability measures, so that you're saying, okay, well, we're hiring these people as consultants, and overall your job is to, accomplish this oversight with us, and we can measure that.
Well, but you don't even have that.
We don't have that.
You don't have it, no.
No,
I mean,
right. So
in other words,
I
the
agree
board
that-
or your committee doesn't have that.
So we do need to look at that more closely. And some of these things are, if you look at scheduler or project manager, they're very similar to other things that are going on in the city, and it would be difficult to justify why that person in Hart would get paid so much more than somebody else that's doing it. And so we have to like look through and see what the impact is, because it might be an impact statement that says, well, if we don't have that person, then this is what happens, right? I don't know. I mean, it is a difficult, and we've been struggling with this from the beginning, right? So that's why they hired all these consultants, and then we're like, oh, we can't have all these consultants. So now you've got this.
Well, but there must be a reason why, at one point, there was 135 authorized city positions, right? There must be a reason why we had that number, whether way back when they were city versus consultants. So there's got to be an explanation, and you can work on it with Sandy as to, okay, where did the 135 come from? It's not just a number that they plucked out of the air. They must have had bodies. And I think over time, it just becomes more convenient to fill it with consultants who, I mean, you know, you think our one-year contracts or something, consultants are even worse in terms of what kind of rights they have. You know, you can just be upset with one and call up whoever it is, HDR or Leon Elliott, and say, we don't like this guy, and boom, they're gone. And, you know, I don't necessarily think that evolves into a feeling of loyalty to the project either. So I think that's something that we need to look at, because if we're going to go all consultants eventually, then, you know, at least we have to know. Yes, Roger.
So I would make a distinction between the Lee and Elliott and the Jacobs type consultants and the pain communication or the shock real estate. They're specialists in those areas, and I don't consider them the same as a general engineering consultant. And I think part of the reduction of the 135 is attributed to that there's no longer a real estate department. There's no longer a media out, you know, I think there were 8 or 9 outreach, or more than that maybe. Certainly there's Joey and there's a few more that are on board, but there's not the numbers that there used to be. And some of those roles haven't gone away, but they've been taken over by real estate firm and by outside media firm. Pang Communications does a lot of it. So I want to just make the distinction that all consultants are not alike.
Right, some are really subject matter experts in certain areas that we don't even have the ability across the city and county to do a lot of.
But the question is, if we had them, like, for example, you know, we had Jesse Suki, we had, what was it? Myers, yeah, right? We had all those people doing that, Morris Atta. We had all those people who were traditionally in those positions. So it's not like we don't have, one, a history of having people here do it, and two, there may be issues as to why we don't have them anymore, but that doesn't mean that there's not people out there who could do it. They did do it.
And you know, just to point out, you know, we did have some federal investigations over over things, and a lot of it was because of the people here were not experts in the federal process, and not that I think they did anything intentionally wrong, but it was a hard lesson learned that if we don't follow the federal rules with people that know the federal process, then we can get ourselves in both financial and in oversight issues. So
that's true, but the question is, it's almost like, so do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? You know, so we have people who have gone through that, they've gone through the fire, so to speak, who now understand it, and then what do? We lose them, and we don't, and then we just say, okay, we're not going to deal with this. It's contrary to what I've always thought was this board's sentiment, that we wanted to build a local workforce. And yes, we're going to struggle, but struggling doesn't mean that you get rid of everybody because, you know, they didn't pan out or whatever it is. But, you know, and then you go out and hire. Do we know whether these consultants are that much better? Because I bet if we went to in-depth, if we had the time and we did an in-depth, we probably have history of consultants who are gone because they did something and they upset somebody and therefore they're gone. But they're easier to get rid of because you just pick up the phone and you say, hey, I don't like this guy or whatever, so yank that contract. So that to me is the question, but it's a question that the board has to decide. The only reason I'm asking these questions is because we made sort of a policy statement that we wanted to build a local workforce. And if we do, then that's one of the things we got to start to look at. If we don't, then that's fine too, but that's a board policy decision that we make.
So I think we owe the board, you know, kind of Sandy and I sitting down and figuring out, okay, well, we're trying to do that. What process are we gonna use? How long are we gonna hold these positions open until we need them? And what would be the impact to the financial plan and everything else of, okay, well, if I need them at this point in the program and I can't get them, then this is what's it's gonna cost us, right? And we owe a kind of a timeline of what that would look like. And as well as what we're up against in terms of Hart only has so many, you know, arrows in their quiver, and, you know, maybe there needs to be more arrows, you know, and we can identify what those are, because they're limited to what they can do, right? And so if you want to take some of those limitations away, then there's got to be some action from outside of Hart leadership to be able to do that. We got to do something, or we have to ask somebody else to help us do something, right? But we should be able to put together a timeline of, you know, I mean, some things are critical, and some things are, they eventually want one, and there's going to be a point in the program where you're going to actually have to, you know, as we start moving into the city center phase, that we really are going to need these people, and we're going to have to figure out, like, are you going to hire some? How are you going to get the person there? So we owe a timeline as well as an impact statement of where those people are, and then if we're really serious about trying to increase the number of city employees, then we have to come up with a strategy to do that, which I think they've been trying to do that, but the strategy needs to include what they can't do that's impacting it.
So, Laurie, have you gone on and tried to recruit back some of the people who've left us?
No, some of them left for different reasons, better pay, moved to the mainland.
And the reason I ask that is because I think the board should know, of the people we've lost, 5 have gone to DCCA alone, 5. And in addition to that, we have people who've gone to the judiciary. So city has always had a reputation of paying better than the state. We've lost 5 to DCCA and 1 to judiciary, just a recent time. And 1, by the way, Laurie has said that he was asked to come back and he refused. But so that's something that I think when we do this analysis, we gotta look at and we gotta understand what's going on. And the board's gotta decide, how serious are we that we wanna build a local workforce? Because it may mean, okay, this is it. You're not gonna use any more consultants. You're gonna find, and if you don't have the person, you're gonna have to do something. But anyway, anything else? Anyone else?
Just one quick question,
Yes.
Chair. I was just wondering if the Navy has poached any of our people yet for their dry dock project.
Yes. So one went to a consultant working on the dry dock, and then he did ask if he could come back. So I tried, but I can't match his salary. So, yeah.
To dry dock? But that means that they're probably more, or they think that they can move a lot freer within this community. Because dry dock's not going to be there forever.
Yeah, from engineers, they're employable.
Okay, anything else on the critical position
I would
recruitment?
say if we needed IT people, we probably could get a whole bunch of them, because they're floating around like nobody's business. Engineers are a little much more difficult to find. But the IT people, I think that, I mean, if we were doing that, I think that we would be able to find them. It's just really a skill set that we're working up against. And, you know, I mean, on the mainland even, they're starting at $85,000, $90,000 a year. After 5 years, they're making $125,000, $130,000, and that's like, they're just cranking it.
Well, Pearl Harbor's civilian workforce, their engineers are making huge amounts of money, you know, and
right. They
but
get
but they make it anyway, irrespective. They just got to be at Pearl. But it has nothing to do with the dry dock. It's Pearl's engineers.
That's true.
And they're recruiting heavily out of the University of Hawaii. Yeah, but but the local kids have been recruited very heavily out of there. Anything else, members? Anyone else? Not? Okay, let's move on to your career fairs.
Yes, so on January 31st, Michelle, thank you for accompanying us at the Hawaii Career Expo. To your point about IT, we did get a lot of interest from the IT people. So I asked, why are there so many? They said the industry is saturated because of like the Amazons, the Googles just cutting everyone. So I'm like, that's great. But to your point, I don't think we can match their salaries, but we're still going to try. I mean, we do have 3 people already on our IT team. Not sure if I have it listed here. It's on numbers 22 and 23, but at that career fair, I think we got about 67 resumes. So Sandy and Cheryl are still going through all of those resumes. I couldn't go to the Scheidler Career Fair because we were with the secretary that day. But how many resumes did you guys get that?
The Scheidler, I think it was
40?
Well,
Oh.
well, we got the matches, we got like several hundred matches, but the applications that actually came through, I believe there were 2 of them that came through. Right? They are very promising.
So out of that number, are you saying 2 came through?
Yes, and so we use them a news program. It's called Handshake. I don't know if you've heard about them, but they recruit heavily with universities. So University Scheidler actually promoted that particular job site. So that's how we got the programs.
Then on Friday, we attended the UH College of Engineering Expo, myself, Sandy, and Cheryl. We got quite a bit of resumes, but they actually gave us a roster of every student in there. So there's hundreds of them and all their resumes. So a lot of work to sift through. So I asked Sandy, please ask our secretaries to help you to go through and put it in a database. Anything else?
That's it. We did sign up for a Waianae Intermediate School career fair that's coming up in April.
And I think there are about several hundred or more than that graduating engineers that are going to be holding a job fair on April the 4th at UH. UH is a participant in this Southwest Consortium. And we at DTS have traded bus transportation for the group, free bus transportation in return for getting access for all city agencies to the recruitment fair. And I think that, Hart should probably jump on that one too. It's again, these are students that are seniors in civil. Primarily, it's ASCE, so they would be still 6 months from graduation. But if you're looking for rookie engineers, CE1s or something.
Absolutely. That's what we did at the College of Engineering. We had 2 different flyers, one for student interns and one for they're graduating in May. So it's
Right,
like, well,
right.
I don't have to bring you in as an intern. I can already bring you in as a civil engineer.
Yeah, I think if they're graduating within 6 months,
Yep.
then there's opportunities to do that. So.
I guess I have one more suggestion is getting the list from the city and the state of recently or to be retired people. And I know that you have to put them on these 90-day contracts, but it's extra money for them, really. And sometimes it's what you find as you retire is maybe your retirement's not really enough. And you know, a 90-day gig is, you know, you can still plan your trips to Vegas or seeing your kids or everything
Yeah.
else.
In fact, one of our IT guys, he retired from the city
Right.
or state and
Right.
he
Right.
he approached us. He said, "I want to come
So I
back to
think,
work."
you
though."
know, looking, especially for engineers, I think maybe if you can actually get a list of people who've recently retired and kind of say, hey, what's up? You know, are you interested in like trying this out? We might find people that might be interested in doing that.
That's a great idea.
So-
I mean, there's a 6 months so it won't affect the retirement, 6 month cooling off, but
Right.
that's a great
Right.
idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? Not your next job fair? Or is that the one?
Sorry, Chair, that's all three.
Those three? The
other one
UH
was-
Engineering Spring Career.
Yes, that was the
Expo as
College
well.
of Engineering. And the last agenda item I had was I think I mentioned it maybe in the POC, that one of our Heart employee, well, it's not city consultant, he had a cardiac arrest incident at the airport station, and this was a very public media event where he got to meet the people who saved his life. So it wasn't just EMS, it was Hitachi employees, STG employees. Of course, the EMS were there, and so it was just very emotional. So there's some photos. Oh, thank you, Chair. There's some photos in there that it was very emotional for him and his wife. He's the one off on the right in the white shirt. He was turning his head off to the side with glasses. His wife is the one in the floral print shirt.
Where was the incident?
Airport station. He went to lunch with some coworkers, about 4 of them. They're from Lee and Elliott, and he was walking back up the stairs, and he doesn't remember that whole day.
And so the response time, do you know what that
It was within minutes, and so they had an AED at the station. STG did, and so it was the Hitachi and STG employees that administered that, and then EMS came. Even our electric elevators and escalator contractor went out there because the elevators weren't, they're not working. He immediately turned it on so that EMS could get him down into it's 4 flights, get him down to the ambulance and get him to the hospital.
This is a question for Roger. For an unmanned station that's in operations, do we know what, it kind of just really just depends on the time of day and everything else, doesn't it?
All the stations are manned.
So it would be an immediate initial response, and then,
Yeah, I mean, there's AEDs at the station.
Right,
We're working with them on the trains as well.
thank you. That's awesome.
Any other questions or comments on agenda item number, Roman numeral 3C, which is the celebration of life? Anything else? If not, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is committee reports. Thank you, Sandy. Anyone here to testify on agenda item number 4, committee reports, all the committees? None, and I assume no one else is, even if I didn't even have to ask for that, I just want to do it. So with that, let's start with agenda item Roman numeral 4A, which is the Finance Committee. Robert Yu.
Thank you, Chair. Your Committee on Finance met on February 2nd. We went over HART's cash flow statements for the year, and also extending the review to the end of the project. There were a few things that we brought up that we looked at with respect to projections on certain contracts, and I think those will be answered when HART completes their risk refresh. I think sometime this month or next month, Lori? Or is today the completion of the risk refresh? Okay, yeah, so at the completion, I think we'll have, a few more answers to some of the projections. And there were no action items, Chair. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions of Robert? Anyone here? Anyone? No? Members of the public, and I guess also board members, just as a reminder, this Friday, we have committee meetings, and that's because this is out of whack. So we'll be back here on Friday. And are all committees having a hearing on Friday? I thought I saw all of you. Okay, so anything else? We might catch up with you there as well. Hearing no comments on Robert, let's go to Kika, which is the B, Project Oversight Committee.
Yeah, Chair, real brief. February 2nd, Project Oversight Committee met. We reviewed the November, I believe, if I recall correctly, it was the November progress report. There was no action taken.
Okay. Any questions of Kika? Hearing none. Let's go to committee report number C, Roman numeral 4C, which is Edwin's Internal Audit Committee.
Sorry, Chair, I just texted him, see if he'd be logging in. He emailed earlier today asking for us to resend the link. We did, but I don't see him on, so I just texted him because he has another agenda item towards the end.
Right. I don't see Edwin. Have you been contacted by Edwin? Anyone contacted by Edwin besides Lori? No? Well, let's just pass and see if he comes on board. Then agenda item renewal number 4D, which is Human Resources. Michelle.
Yeah, we met on February 2nd and the 9th. We went over the status of the executive board executive officer vacancy. We're gonna go over that today on action item number 6. We also did a review of Lori's, the executive director's annual performance review, and the committee completed that and made a recommendation that we'll be bringing to the board today under item number 7. We looked at the prioritized vacancy positions, which you saw the results of which, and I think that was a good, that's kind of like where I think we need to have it. Yeah, there's a few little typos and everything, but I think that's good. As well as the org chart, I think we've kind of gotten almost everybody's comments in. The colors are right now and everything else. And we're really, everybody has different opinions, so we're really kind of struggling with that. But I think we kind of got it almost where, I think it's pretty good. We did talk about kind of some of this outside the box brainstorming. And I think that maybe that's something that we postpone a little bit until I work with Sandy and Lori in terms of what the positions are and what we need to do in terms of that. But we kind of need to get on it because as we move into this next 12 to 18 months, we're going to really need a lot more people to perform oversight of the city center guideway. And I think that that's going to be really important. And getting people up to speed early is important because there's a large history with the program and everything. And so, getting them to look at the work that's going on now, completing everything to Middle Street, and then moving into the city center is important. But that's the summary of the committee.
Any questions of Michelle on their 2 meeting report, February 2nd and 9th? Anyone on the online? No one? Thank you very much. So members, we're going to move to agenda item number Roman numeral 5, which is a follow-up board member request made at the January 19th Board of Directors meeting. First of all, anyone here to testify on agenda item number 5? Seeing none, hearing none. Okay, let's go. I have Sandy down for this. Is it you, Sandy?
Tag team. Yeah, so for 5B, we already covered that in my executive report, and then in your folders is the updated org chart. Like Michelle said, hopefully we've captured all of your comments, color coordinated, and I believe we also were asked how many per category on each page, so she has done that. And so in that middle column, it has how many are on this page, and then the last column is the cumulative count. So you can see broken up by consultant, broken up by city vacant funded, city vacant unfunded, and city filled. So hopefully we've got it this time to Michelle's point that we have all of your comments included. There was concern about when the black is on, let's say a dark blue color, hard to see, so she made adjustments there. Any other I'm trying to remember other comments that we took into account.
One correction I'd like to note on page 6. So under Corporation Counsel, Lisa Hirahara's name was misspelled, so we apologize for that, and we'll correct it the next time around. And we also need to add Daniel Kim, who is a Deputy Corporate Counsel in that category.
And this is on the,
Under the corporate.
Page 6, under the
Corporation
gray bottom
Counsel.
left.
oh, I see. I don't see the names. Where are the names?
Says last name is spelled wrong, and we needed to add Daniel Kim to the team there.
You're on page 6?
Page 6, bottom left-hand corner, gray.
Oh, I
Corporation
see,
Counsel.
okay. And somebody's going to be added on.
Yes.
Daniel Kim.
So is he with, well, we have Dan Glock, and they rested, some of them all shift in and out, but is he just generically to all of Hart?
Yeah, he's with Hart. He does lots of the insurance.
Okay. Okay, with that, members, any questions, comments? Anyone? I have one, page 6. There's a difference, I don't know why I catch these things. There's a difference in the white box on filled as 40, and on your summary, you have city field 39. You see that? So the pinkish color is 39, and the white box on the bottom is 40. You see that?
Oh, okay, yeah, so we didn't update, so I'm sorry about that.
So which one is correct?
It's 39.
It's 39.
Yes.
I was gonna ask you about that because I think it was 40 when we still had Brent. Okay. So members and members of the public, it should be 39 on the lower left hand. And so the upper right hand corner is correct. Any other questions, members? Not? Anyone? Nope. Thank you very much, Sandy, but we still have, oh, and does that include the reformatting of the critical positions recruitment table as well? That, we went through that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just saw Edwin. I'm sorry, Chair, what was your question?
Okay, the number B item?
Yes, that was covered up top and on 3A.
Okay. So with that, any other questions, comments? So the recruitment, reformatting the critical position recruitment table is the discussion that we had under the executive director CEO's update. Anything else?
We have Edwin now.
Yep. All right, thank you. So Edwin, there you are. Okay, so Edwin, we're gonna go back because we passed it because you weren't online yet. So we're gonna go back to agenda item number 4, Roman numeral 4, which is your committee reports. Subcategory small c is your internal audit committee report of your February 2nd, 2024 meeting. Would you like to do your report at this time?
Absolutely. As the newspaper story advertiser article indicated today, the solicitation as it went out did not get
We can't hear you for some reason. You're coming in very muffled. Is there something you can do about it? No, it's on his side.
He needs to get closer to the mic.
They said you need to get closer to your mic.
Okay, how's that?
Is that, it's still somewhat muffled, but yeah, I think we can make it out.
As the Star Advertiser article said today, the solicitation as it went out was contradictory to Article 17 of the city charter, sections 103 through 105, in the sense that the board is responsible for policy and the day-to-day activities of Hart belonging to the CEO. And the solicitation as it was issued would have reversed those roles. In addition to that, governmental auditors usually give all guidance, and the solicitation was based on IA standards, which is not usually as stringent as the government audit accounting standards.
You know,
So on the basis of
we're having a hard, I'm having a hard time. We're all having a hard time hearing you. Maybe, since we all know what you look like, and we have your, can you will it make a difference if he goes just like on a phone and calls in? Will it be clearer?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I think we're going to ask you to do that, because I think then we can hear you better.
Yeah, Edwin, do you have the phone number to call in?
Please give it to me real quick.
All right, let me get it and I'll email it to you. All right, Edwin, it's in the chat, in the Zoom chat, so you should see the info right there.
Okay, let me try that. If not, yeah. Natalie, can you brief them on what we've been talking about?
Sorry. My understanding, Edwin, is that we will be discussing this further in another agenda item as far as next steps.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that.
So maybe, I hate to ask you to do this, but can you kind of give your report again? Because I think a lot of people couldn't hear it.
Sure. I'm trying to get the phone number.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
He doesn't see it in the chat.
Can you-
Edwin, it's in the Zoom chat, but I also just emailed it to you.
Okay.
What is that?
Let me try another number.
Oh, he got a recording?
I got a recording.
Oh,
So much for technology.
Oh, that sounds clear.
that's very clear.
Yeah.
386.
Hey, you know what,
Just talk.
Edwin? Why don't you just give your report?
Because you sound clear now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try it again one more time.
No, Edwin, give your report, because we can hear you clearly now. I don't know what you did,
Yeah.
but you did something.
Okay. I haven't done anything, but I guess it's just the
Oh,
computer.
wait a
You know
minute.
what? I think he may be too close
You're
to
too
the mic.
close.
Should I go back a little bit? You may be too close to the mic now.
Okay, how's that?
Just say something.
Hello. So much for technology. We're giving up on it.
Better. Maybe back up just a little bit more.
Our expert says back up a little bit more.
Okay, how's that? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. So it's asking for a meeting ID. Okay. Basically, the internal audit. Can you get it now?
Yeah, you have to get back just a little bit more, Edwin. It's more clear. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually, we want me to get closer to the microphone, so this is unusual to have to back up with that. Basically, the internal audit committee basically looked at the solicitation and it contradicted the city charter, Article 17, sections 3 to 105. Also, it's based on IAA standards, government auditors, judicial auditors.
It's not working.
No, it's not working.
Sorry, Edwin, not working. We can't hear you. You're getting muffled again.
Once you move to
When somebody, maybe that will work.
Yeah, I still, the speakers, public speakers.
Put it on one of the mics, maybe. How can we give a number and it goes to recording?
No, there's a number.
Yeah, there's a number.
Where
You
you
have to give
dial.
the meeting number.
Right.
Yeah, it automatically dial, presses the passcode for you. I think is that number, I don't know. You
I have a meeting number, but no password.
Jack, could you scroll down, from find your local number?
Oh, that's it. And then
Oh, okay. Because sometimes.
829-962-90.
Yes.
We gotta have a San Francisco.
It's asking for a password and there's no password on the email.
passwords. Yeah. There's no password.
I don't know. It was very clear.
I know,
But
just for,
He was turning away from.
So Edwin, please try calling in again. You'll dial the phone number and then it'll ask for a meeting ID and it's in the email I just sent you.
Okay.
you would think we'd make the links easier, right? That it would just click on and whether you're dialing in or you're zooming in, because Zoom, we just click. Well, anyway, that's what I do. If that doesn't do that, I don't go on Zoom.
But when you click it in the background, it's taking all that
Yeah,
number and putting it in the right place.
so that's what I'm wondering, why is it, that's a different discussion, but it would seem to me that we have to make,
followed by pound.
Okay, meeting ID.
You have not
We still live.
yes.
enter participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
Sure.
You are in the meeting now. There are 5 participants.
I think he's going to be on shortly, hopefully.
Hear me?
You have status to the you are muted. Yes, for unmuted now.
You've got to turn his audio on now on his computer.
Feedback.
So is he on phone?
Let me try.
Oh, no.
How's this? Is it working?
No, so Edwin, you need to unmute your phone, not your computer.
You can mute his computer, yeah, can't we?
Yeah, he's not muted on his computer.
You can mute his computer.
Okay, then he's just muted himself on the computer.
And with
Okay.
It's unmuted again now.
So how do you unmute on a Samsung? Is that, no?
Yeah, keep doing it. Keep unmuting yourself.
So, Edwin, we're gonna mute you. There you go. Don't unmute yourself on your computer. You need to unmute yourself on your phone.
I muted myself on the computer, but it's muted on the telephone.
Right, you need to do the opposite.
what's the press, what is it, star something to unmute?
I don't know. You know what?
Unmute your phone.
Unmute your phone. Shall we? Shall we take a recess?
No.
It's still muted. Session now, and then like do it when he does his recommendation on item number 8.
The host device's microphone start mute. You are unmuted.
I think it's good for the public to see what a pain this all is.
Okay, so Edwin, if you talk into your, no, don't unmute your computer.
Yeah, he just unmuted himself again.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
So
No,
talk into your phone now, Edwin, please.
Can you talk in your phone, Edwin? Nope, it's muted.
You are muted.
See, there's something wrong with this, either with us or with the system.
No.
The host would like to have one microphone. Start.
There you go. You should be good now.
Okay, try now. Your phone's okay and your computer's muted.
I think now he may have muted his phone, his actual phone.
Oh yeah, we can't hear you. What's your recommendation? Shall we recess or shall we move on and try to figure this out? We're gonna recess.
That's me, Phil.
We're gonna, members of the public as well as the board members, we are going to recess to try and figure out our technology here. So Edwin, we're gonna come back, but, during the recess to try and figure out what we're doing wrong. So Olelo, can you recess us while we figure this out? Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone's patience. We have figured this out, we think. So we're going back to Edwin on committee report, agenda item number 4, subsection C, which is the Internal Audit Committee. So just so you all know, he's on telephone. So I'm gonna put the mic to Edwin. So, okay, Edwin, give your report.
Okay, for the Internal Audit Committee, we met and took a close look with the solicitation and compared it with the City Charter, Article 17, Sections 103 through 105, and concluded that the solicitation as it was put out violated the City Charter. On that basis, and also on other basis of accounting standards, we concluded it would be inappropriate for the city to continue with a solicitation. So the committee is recommending that the solicitation be canceled and that we re-examine the specifications within the solicitation and develop a more appropriate option for developing an internal audit function for the HART. On that basis, the committee has recommended that the solicitation be canceled and a new solicitation be issued after we have examined the issues.
Thank you. And members, before we go in any more detail on what Edwin just said, know that agenda item Roman numeral number 8 is the recommendation for the canceling of this internal audit, and that's the time that we would take action. Edwin, I assume that's your whole report?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we ran into technical problems. It may be on my end, but we're not sure.
Thank you. So, members, any questions or comments to Edwin? You have something? No. Okay. Anything among the members? If not, thank you, Edwin. Thank you very much. Natalie, you don't have any comments until Roman numeral number 8?
That's correct.
Thank you. So with that, members, we are going to move off of that agenda item and go to agenda.
I'm going to give a status, and then I'm going to suggest that we enter into executive session. But the status is that DHR did approve the EMO3 vacancy announcement. I don't have the exact date, but I think it was it last week?
Thursday.
Yeah, last week, Thursday. And so we have a few actions to take in executive session. So may I read the executive session thing?
Michelle, I don't know if you want, first, the board can approve the revised one in open session. That would be
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, it was provided and I think it was posted. And so there was a revised, I think we might have just accidentally sent the wrong one to DHR, but we did revise it, and I was hoping that the board could take a vote on the thing that Dan passed out, and it's the revised position description. Natalie, do you have a copy of it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so what we're asking is that the Board of Directors approve the updated position description for the Hart Board of Directors Executive Officer. And so give everybody a few minutes to just look at it. Dan, do you have any comments on what specifically changed?
No, it was very similar to the version that the board had already approved. I made a couple of small edits and reformatting, but it's very similar.
So members, when you are finished reviewing this, and if you are inclined to, we will need a motion and a second. And, well, we already approved one. Let's look at this. So do we have to, this is not described as an amendment, so do we have to rescind the prior one?
I don't think so. I think you're just voting on an updated or amended one. But because there were changes from the one that the board approved, I wanted to make sure the board approved the revised one.
So though it's not called an amended or updated version, we'll just, everyone
Treat
should
it as
know
such.
that this is an amended, updated version of the one that we approved in the prior meeting.
Well,
Edwin, just a minute. Edwin, do you have a comment?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that there wasn't any substantive changes to any of the required qualifications or the desired skills and experience, those kinds of things. I think that's important to state that it was more kind of edits that were made on this document.
I mean, I totally understand the only minor things, but can you point out where the edits were made?
Maybe. You might have to give me a minute, Roger. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because I have to find the old one.
Having said that, I did read over the revised, and I don't have any issues with any of the revised part at all. I just wondered if and I know we approved it in the past.
Yeah, I don't know if we know the exact wording, but I do remember, Dan, you were telling me that it really had to do with the impact the position had on Hart and the Board of Directors and its criticality of decision-making and support to the board in terms of legal insight and those kind of things,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't like what we were looking for in the person, it was more like the effect that it had on the board and its responsibilities to the board.
Roger, the reason for my delay is that I don't have access to my server right now, so I'm trying to see if I can find it either on Hart's website or...
As I say, I'm comfortable with the document. I've read it over, and it seems to be the same one that I recall that we approved, so I'm comfortable with the document.
So do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Roger moves.
I'll second.
Anthony seconds. So we have any discussion?
Chair?
Yes.
Natalie? Before you do that, I do have a question on the description, if I may.
Sure.
So in the first few lines, it says that this position reports directly to the board. And so there have been, and most recently with respect to the internal audit function, questions about the board responsibilities versus what the CEO is supposed to do. So can somebody explain in public session, because I think this would be valuable for the public to understand as well, why is it that we can have this person report directly to the board and not, for example, the internal audit function?
Do you want me to answer that?
You can. This is Edwin.
Okay. Internal audit standards basically say for independence purposes, the external auditors or internal auditors should report to the board of directors, audit committee, or the CEO. Since we don't have a staff and any resources, we cannot fulfill the role of a CEO. And the way that it is presently written, you would need about 42 FTEs in order to supervise the internal auditor. I don't think that's feasible. So what I have proposed to Natalie is a modified version of it that will accomplish both purposes of meeting the board's responsibility to monitor what is going on in HART and audit it, but also provide a valuable independent voice to the CEO so that they can act on it on a timely basis. For example, if any invoices were questioned, it would take the board over a month to be able to approve a questionable transaction, whereas the CEO can look at it and her group can make the determination in a day or less to determine whether they should pay the invoice or not. It's very critical to have a timely response and a timely decision because most vendors charge interest as well as penalties for late payments if a payment is made after 30 days. That is one of the reasons why we have the Prompt Payment Act for the federal government, because it took too long to approve invoices that were questioned.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I think I've heard this before, and not only with respect to the internal audit, but you know what, that's okay. I'd just also like to comment, Chair, that I understand I will not be privy to the executive session because I have not signed the confidentiality agreement. And that is due to differences between the Attorney General's office and Corporation Counsel. Thank you.
Natalie, I would like to further explain. I think that the difference or critical difference is that as far as the audit functions that Edwin is referring to, it has to do with a charter provision. What the executive officer's position is, excuse me, is a creation of our rules. In other words, because our rules have been adopted, especially where it comes to the executive officer position, the board is functioning in accordance with that. And I believe that CORE has already looked at the rules which were adopted for the executive officer position and has opined that it is within the board's purview. Am I correct?
That is correct. And Natalie and I have discussed over email as well. And what I have told her is that, again, my legal advice is given to the board. As an entity, the board holds the privilege. And so I'm just not able to give her directly legal guidance.
Yes, and that's my interpretation, by the way, Natalie, of the structure of rules versus the charter and how they interface. But I do know that we have secured that the rules that particular provision of the rules that we're talking about was reviewed by CORE, and CORE has concurred with the board's interpretation.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. And we do note your position regarding the executive session. Yes, Roger.
I think I understand Board Member Iwasa's position totally. And I think we can discuss that if we're discussing the auditor position when we get to that point. I'm not sure that I see the relationship between this item and that. So, I still think that we should go forward on this item while respecting the opportunity for Natalie or others to bring that question up when we discuss the audit position. Because I have some issues myself
With which,
with the audit position.
oh, okay, so any other discussion, members? Because I think what we are voting on now is really going into executive session on the executive officer's position. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're voting on this,
Yeah.
on this report here. So any other discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? We do, so the Board of Directors Executive Officers Position Description of February 27, 2024 is adopted. And by the way, just so the record is clear, this is going to supersede and replace the prior description that we had adopted earlier. So with that, Michelle, do you need executive session? Okay. So we have been asked to go into executive session, and the board may enter into executive session pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-4 and subsection 92-5A2, and this is to consider the hire, evaluation, dismissal, discipline of an officer or employee, or of changes brought against, charges brought against an officer or employee where consideration of matters affecting privacy will be involved, and section 92-5A4, and this is to consult with the attorneys on questions and issues on a matter pertaining to the board's powers, duty, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Not quite, just a question.
Okay,
Having passed this, this approval of this, what is the purpose for the executive session?
I'd like to discuss in detail the hiring issues that we've had with DHR in terms of this position. And I would prefer to do that in executive session because it has to do with specific hiring discrepancies.
And I can give the board legal advice in executive session, and we can talk about the specific candidate in executive session. If you wanted to have a broader discussion about processes or roles, then I think I would agree with Roger's sentiment that it would be an open session.
I think that it matters because we are dealing with personnel matters, to err on the side of the confidentiality, because the confidentiality is really not the board's necessarily, it is the individual's confidentiality. So I would not want us to breach any of that in any discussion, because this is an ongoing hire issue.
Let me make sure I'm clear that I would like to have Corporation Counsel's advice in terms of how to handle some of the next steps.
Any further questions or comments? Okay. So we have a question. Did you make the motion? You made a question. So I'm still looking for a motion.
We had
We had a motion and a second, Chair.
That's for this is
I didn't make a
for,
motion.
Oh, you did.
I move to executive session.
Yeah.
this is the executive session. I need a second. Second. Okay, we moved in second. Any other discussion on this particular matter, which is moving to executive session? If not, do we have unanimous consent? We do. Thank you very much. So members, we will go into executive session. Given the fact that we need the monitor, we will stay in here. Persons who are not privy to this executive session will have to leave. I'm sorry, I'm looking at you.
This is Ron from my office.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Ron, sorry. He's an attorney, members, so he gets to stay. Oh, he's your paralegal? Thank you, and welcome back. We are out of executive session. This is the Board of Directors meeting of HART of Tuesday, February 27, 2024. Before I give the summary of the executive session, I do want to note that if you're watching our online, you will note that Director Edwin Young is not up there. We had technical difficulties before we went off. So Edwin is with us, but he's by phone. So in case anyone's wondering about our quorum, he is here. So with that, let me first begin by giving a summary of what happened in the executive session on agenda item number 6, which is the Hart Board Executive Officer vacancy. As you all know, that we had two items that we took care of. One was basically the issue of the amended position description, which called the Hart Board of Directors Executive Officer position description. We did not have to go into executive session for that. We did vote and amend the prior executive officer position that we had adopted. However, when we did go into executive session on the issue of the executive officer vacancy, no action was taken in executive session. What we were apprised of, without violating any attorney-client privilege, was the status of where it is and what the legal ramifications are as to the next position, the next steps to be taken, and how we are awaiting a decision right now of the HR department of the City and County of Honolulu. So with that, members, we are going to move on to agenda item number 7, which is the review of the 2023 Executive Director's Annual Performance Assessment. And we'll turn this over to Committee Chair Michelle Chun Boongrabber.
Okay, I just wanted to remind everyone that on February 9th, the HR committee voted on what their 2023 ED's annual performance assessment, and what we're doing now is presenting that to the full board for review, editing, and approval. And I wanted to ask that we move into executive session because it has to do with the evaluation of an officer from Hart. But that's what we're going to be doing in executive session. We're going to be taking the HR committee's recommendation and having the board take a look at it and make their decision on what to present to the executive director.
So before we entertain a motion, is there any comments?
I guess my other comment is that this is just the evaluation. This is not anything to do with the executive director's contract. The executive director is under contract for the year 2024, and to remind everyone, at that point, her contract ends in the end of calendar year 2024. But this doesn't have anything to do with extending the contract or continuing the contract in 2024. This is just the 2023 evaluation.
Any other comments? Natalie, we do know your position on executive session. And I think we have that running throughout the whole committee meeting.
Chair?
Go ahead.
Chair, if I may, it's just a little bit confusing exactly what was, I didn't look at the February 9th meeting. So were the categories revised in any manner, or the method of evaluation, was anything like that changed? I'm just curious.
No, but I have some lessons learned that the way that I did the spreadsheet was a little bit confusing to people. The categories are detailed in the contract. Those are the ones that remain. And what I was trying to do was trying to put the emphasis items in there so that people were reminded of what the emphasis items for 2023 were, but it got a little bit confusing because I didn't actually list in verbiage how to fill it out. So we did resolve some of that. And to be honest, I mean, we were asking not just for a score, we were asking for some verbiage detail to justify the scores that people were giving. And that was the primary reason why, I included in the spreadsheet the emphasis items for the calendar year. But lessons learned to me, I need to make sure that I provide very detailed instructions, and it just wasn't clear. So I want to apologize for that, but we didn't change any of the categories from what the contract stated.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Any other questions or comments? By the way, before I forget, is there anyone here to testify on the review of the 2023 Executive Director's Annual Performance Assessment? Seeing none and hearing none. So members, we are looking at the chair's request that we go into executive session. And this is, of course, to the evaluation that we all participated in. So I would like a motion to the effect that the board may enter into executive session pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-4 and subsection 92-5A2 to consider the hire, evaluation, dismissal, discipline of an officer or employee, or of charges brought against the officer or employee where consideration of matters affecting privacy will be involved, and section 92-5A4, which is to consult with its attorneys on questions and issues on a matter pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. May I have a motion?
Chair, I so move.
Thank you. And the second. So moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, do I have unanimous consent? I do. Thank you very much. Pardon? Did anybody say anything?
Saying yes.
Okay. So with that, we are moving into executive session. Olelo, please so note. Back from executive session, we were on agenda item number 7, Roman numeral 7, which is review of the 2023 Executive Director's Annual Performance Assessment. I must begin first with a summary of what occurred. We were presented with the Hart CEO Performance Evaluation 2023, which was adopted by the HR Committee at the meeting on February 9th. 2024. We went into executive session to, of course, consult with our attorney about how this report will be disseminated. And as you may be aware, we are able to take a vote on this report in executive session. However, it is the board's decision that we will vote in open session. So having said that, those are the discussions in the performance evaluation in executive session, and we are now out, and I am going to entertain a motion on the Hart CEO Performance Evaluation 2023. So with that, do we have a motion for the adoption of the Hart CEO Performance Evaluation 2023 as was adopted by the HR Committee? Do you have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I second.
And the second, moved and seconded. Now we have discussion. Any discussion, members? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, I want to thank the committee chair and the committee in general for the work that's been put into this. I'm not a member of the HR committee, so this is the first opportunity that I've had to look at the evaluation summary as well as the matrix that was provided as background for the evaluation. Noting that, I understand that there appears to be a varying difference of opinions in some areas related to the performance of the Hart CEO. And I mean, opinions differ, I guess, in some areas. So with that said, I do want to support the board's position, but I also have some differences of opinions in some areas, and maybe how some areas were portrayed or described in the overall evaluation. So with that said, I would like to vote yes with reservations, Chair, if that's okay.
It's fine. But let's, any other discussion? Members? No? So with that, the chair will call for a vote. And given the fact that you have with reservations, I will, let me do it this way. Is there anyone else who has a no vote or with reservations? Because if you do, I will do a roll call.
I think, Chair, it might be better to do a roll call just because we have all my.
Okay. Oh, no, Edwin's off. Edwin is off. So let me do this with, I'm going to do a roll call. So Kika, you're with reservations?
With reservations. Thank you, Chair.
Anthony Alto?
Aye.
Don Takeuchi Apuna is excused. Michelle Chan Brungraber?
Aye.
Aye. Natalie doesn't vote. Roger Morton?
Aye.
Joe O'Donnell does not vote. Ed Sniffen is excused. Art Tolentino?
Aye.
Edwin Young is excused. Robert Yu?
Aye.
And the chair goes aye. Thank you very much. The evaluation is accepted. So with that, let's move to agenda item number 8, which is the, first of all, is there anyone here to testify on the recommendation for Internal Audit Committee to cancel 2023 internal audit solicitation? Anyone here? No? And no one online? Members is, Edwin Young is not here. Is there a preference on deferring this till Edwin is with us? Or has this matter been discussed sufficiently that the board is inclined to proceed on that? Any sentiments, one way or the, are you vice chair?
I'm the vice chair.
You're the vice chair.
But I did not attend the last audit meeting, I don't think.
I don't think so too. Yes, Roger.
I did have some questions that I wanted to discuss with the chair of the committee, having to do with the discussion of the charter requirements or non-requirements, and also the example given in approving invoices. I know in the city system, there would be a pre-audit staff member that would be responsible for that, but that position would be within the normal accounting section of the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. In the city, the internal audit staff is within the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, but it's apart from those activities. So I would prefer to have the opportunity to discuss it with the chair. I'm not totally sure if my opinion is correct on how things work, but that's why I think I would be inclined to ask for deferral until such time as we could have a discussion where the chair was present.
You know, I am inclined to agree with you, so I am going to, unless I hear a major objection, I am going to defer agenda item number 7 until the next board meeting, until we're able to have the discussion with, I'm sorry, agenda item number, Roman numeral 8, until we have the chair present. Is there any objections? Hearing none?
Chair?
Yes.
Chair? Just a point of clarification for me. I'm pretty sure we mentioned in the committee meeting that there was going to be an alternative looked at. And so I have been tasked with putting together some points of discussion for the internal audit committee for the next meeting. And I just wanted to clarify, and perhaps this is a question for Corporation Counsel. I wanted to clarify if we could still go ahead with that discussion in the committee, even though the decision hasn't been made on the internal audit function at the board level.
The committee is welcome to have any discussions it would like, provided that it's noticed in an agenda 6 days in advance.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification.
And I think that even for that, we should have a clear understanding of what the chair's position is. So I think it's in our interest to defer this matter. So we will be deferring. Hearing no other objections or comments, the matter of agenda item number 8, the recommendation for Internal Audit Committee to cancel 2023 internal audit solicitation is deferred. Agenda item number 9, which is the discussion to create a pig on Hart and the Department of Transportation Services merging into one transit agency. I am also going to defer that matter because there are issues as to, I want to be very clear as to who can sit on the pig. And my understanding is you don't need to be a member of the board to sit on a pig like that. But given that our Corporation Counsel was not here when we last looked at this, I would want to defer that matter to give us the opportunity to look further on this agenda item. By the way, is there anyone here wishing to testify on agenda item number 8 or agenda item number 9? I don't see anyone, and no one has called in to testify on that. So we're moving to agenda item number 10, which is CCR traffic impacts. Joey Monahan.
Good afternoon, Chair and members.
Right.
Joey Monahan, Director of Government Relations and Public Involvement for HART. Reporting on the traffic impacts, CCR 4. Chair, I have nothing to report for this portion.
Any questions of Joey Monahan about CCR and the traffic impacts? None? Nobody's trying to go to Costco recently?
No, I am, but it's going okay.
Okay.
And I would say that downtown sometimes is kind of clogged, but it's moving along and everybody kind of understands where everything is now. So I think we got the recipe down better as we went through the Dillingham area, and then we moved. And like you said, like some of the impacts downtown are actually less than the impacts at Dillingham. People kind of got the groove going now. Thank you.
I think so. Yeah, the traffic's moving along on Dillingham. We're working pretty hot and heavy over there, but the traffic is still flowing, and thankfully no major incidents. Yes.
Yeah, I note the city supported the measure to provide some type of compensation to area businesses that will be, I guess, administered by the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. And kudos to everybody for supporting that for that. And I think that's the biggest impact with the traffic flow has been the impact on businesses.
That was my big test, actually, Board Member Morton. When Mayor was coming down there, I just wanted to make sure everything was clean and in order. And I think the NAN folks did a good job.
Yeah, good job. I agree.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, thank you very much for your non-report. Okay. We're going to move to stay where you are. Agenda item number Roman numeral 11, legislative update. Anyone here to testify? Seeing none. Hearing no one on the legislative update issue online. Okay, Joey, it's yours.
I'll go ahead and report on our bills first, which were the 2 companion measures introduced they were part of the government. They are part of the governor's package. These are House bills, Senate Bill 3069 and House Bill 2380. Both make an emergency appropriation to provide special funds for disbursements of monies in the Mass Transit Special Fund. Senate Bill 3069 has gone through second reading, I believe on February 14th. No further action has been taken so far in the Senate. House Bill 2380, House Draft 1, was heard in Finance, I want to say yesterday, and it was moved out. I don't have the HD2 version. There were some amendments made, but I would imagine they just zeroed out the amounts for Finance. But I don't have the committee report. It's not posted yet, so I'm waiting on that. But the bill moved, and it's made the decking deadline, and it looks like it's going to go for crossover.
So any questions on these two related measures?
Chair.
Yes.
So, just, I guess, just for clarification, because, it sounds like it's an emergency appropriation of additional funds, but it's really just the monies that exceeded the cap
That is correct.
that is being released, or the cap it's the additional that was collected over and above what the cap was set, that's being released to Arch. So it's not any new monies, it's just monies that were collected in excess of what the cap was set on. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct.
And then just out of curiosity, I noticed that only Budget and Finance submitted testimony in support. Is there a strategic reason why Hart wouldn't want to submit testimony, or?
We need your approval for that. So we were trying to get this at the last board meeting, but we didn't have quorum. So they did ask, in fact, they asked us last time, last minute, they asked us to go and testify. I said, we are not allowed to without board approval.
Board rules require us to be authorized to take a position.
Our rules. Okay, so, I mean, we all know how quick the legislative process turns. I would, suggest that the board look at ways to adjust to situations where there are measures that the board should be weighing in on in a timely manner, and providing some kind of flexibility in situations where, especially, it's kind of glaring where there's just one testimony in support and there's nothing from the agency that is the benefactor of this bill. So that's just my
Chair, if I may.
opinion.
Yes.
Vice Chair, I think I can help to address some of that. So the Office of Information Practices has put out a bulletin about the different ways that boards can meet this exact concern. And so there are different strategies, which would include you can delegate to staff the authority to do that. The board can delegate to 2 board members the ability to do that, because 2 board members can. The board can also create a PIG, and then they can respond more quickly. The other options are if the board has taken a position on a particular issue already at a meeting, the board can circulate testimony among the board members to approve the written testimony itself, as long as the position was already voted on. So there are a couple different ways that the board can do it.
Right, and I guess I understand that, and I appreciate that, Dan. I guess what I'm suggesting is that the board take an action on one of those alternatives or methods.
Well, I
so
think
that we can, we can respond to these measures on an as-needed basis.
I think the other issue is, and it's to Joey, is that, these bills come out at the beginning of session, or pretty much at the beginning of session. So it should have been, with all due respect, brought to our attention if it's something like this earlier, so we could take a position. It just happened that we didn't have quorum at that time, but it should have been brought out.
That's third Wednesday. Jack.
Because this is, if it's final reading, well, it looks like it's gonna go over, the House bill is out of finance, so that's gonna go to the Senate right now. So we can take a position on that bill. It looks, I'm not sure whether that's the agreed to vehicle, because usually House and Senate on identical bills are going to decide which will be the surviving vehicle. So it looks like maybe it's the House version if it's cleared already. But the Senate version, from what you were saying, is past second reading. So I guess it's going to go to WHAM, and it's going to, but the difference, of course, is that WHAM doesn't then have to take testimony, so it could pass it through if it wanted to. So the question will be whether we want to take a position on this, and it would seem like, but it's not agendized for position, is it?
You can, the matter's on the agenda, so the board can
We
take
can
action
take
on it.
we can take an action. We also do have a special committee, executive committee that is comprised, that's actually created for this specific purpose.
And its meeting is Friday.
No, this is a board's committee. The board has a specific committee that can take action on the executive committee.
Except by
So-
sunshine, you'd still generally need
Yeah, we still need to sunshine it, so, but given the fact that we can take action now, we should take action, especially on these two. I'm not sure if we're gonna take any, well, the GET one has already been deferred indefinitely, right?
Yes.
So there's
I
no
don't think you
action,
need to take
right.
action on the last
So,
minute.
Chair, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to support. It looks as though House Bill 2380 is moving, and
Right.
like you said, WHAM hasn't been scheduled yet, but to take a position to support either HB 2380 or Senate Bill 3069.
Yes.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. Members, any discussion? It's on 23, House Bill 2380 and Senate Bill 3069. And for the public who may not be familiar with this, basically what has happened is that there is a cap placed on the GET, which is transmitted to basically the transit fund on a yearly basis. It doesn't mean that that HART doesn't get that, the transit fund doesn't get the whole amount, but it does leave an impression that because of this cap, that we're not collecting the GET as we may have been anticipating, or we may have thought that we're entitled to, but in actuality, we do collect it. It just takes a long time to get to us. So that's why they're removing the cap, which they put on, and I think it's 2020 maybe, Robert, that they put the cap on?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chair, sorry, can I clarify my motion? I also want to clarify to authorize HART to submit testimony on behalf of the board and on behalf of HART in support of these two measures, or either or.
Or the board can take its own position on it. So are you precluding the board from taking a position?
No, I guess what I'm motioning is to authorize HART staff to submit testimony on behalf of the board
On these two measures?
on these two measures, yeah.
Okay, that's the,
I would support that as seconded too.
right. I guess my question would be, are you both saying that the board should not take a position?
I think,
So if that's the position, then I think your amendment is not.
I think what my motion is intending to do is authorize HART staff to speak on behalf of the board and submit testimony on behalf of the board.
So that's my question. Are you saying that the board, if I were to do a friendly amendment and say, Anthony, and you go testify on behalf of the board on this measure, or Robert and whoever, and in addition to that, the HART staff can take a position, is your motion precluding the HART board from doing that?
That's not the intent.
Okay, so then it's more along the lines of what I'm saying, which is the HART board's position as the policymaking entity is that we take a position in support of 2380 and House Senate Bill 3069, and/or it's also our position that the HART staff may submit testimony along those same lines as well.
Sounds good, Chair.
That's what we're saying,
Sounds good.
okay?
Get twice as much as testimony.
Right,
Two bangs from the bus.
right. Right, so,
Testify on behalf of the executive and will testify on behalf of the board.
and then, right, on the board. So I would, anybody on the board wants to volunteer? Because we can have two, right? Anthony will volunteer. Anyone else wants to volunteer to testify on behalf of this? Kika?
So, no, Chair, I'm not volunteering.
How
So,
about you, Robert? You testify? You don't have to, but I'm just authorizing two.
I would just say I'm in support, or we're in support. I mean, just two words.
Right.
Yeah, we could even just write it, written testimony in support.
So, right, so the two of you are delegated
Yeah.
from the board perspective, and then the Hart staff can
Yeah,
also.
we'll just write something. Yeah. Mhm. Chair, I do have a question for clarification. So this matter was discussed at a board meeting and at the finance committee meeting. And if I remember the discussion clearly, we talked about, we have to kind of notify budget and finance to do this. And also, when the bill does come out, Hart staff should write letters of support and go testify. If we do that, we did that in a committee and a board meeting, the discussion. Is that not sufficient with respect to authorization, or is authorization something formal like what we're doing today?
Yeah, it doesn't flow from a committee meeting, first of all. It has to have been agendized on the board
Okay,
matter, which I think is what is happening sort of now.
yeah.
But the issue is, and I think we had this discussion before, that we do know what bills are out there within the first 2 weeks of the legislative session. So the question is, we should, with all due respect, Joey, we should know about these things sooner rather than later, and there should have been a recommendation as to which positions we're going to take. So I'm assuming from the three that we have, that these are the only three that you believe were Hart-related.
These are, yes, directly impacting the project.
Okay, so we now have the motion. Any further discussion on our motion itself? Hearing none?
Sorry, Chair.
Yes,
Can you repeat the motion?
thank
I
you
just
very
heard
much. Don't you listen? So I don't have to.
I do. I do, but
So this is really kind of the motion that's, I think, before us now, because we're going to do it by friendly amendments, is that the Hart Board is in support, as a policy statement, in support of House Bill 2380 as well as Senate Bill 3069. And the Hart Board authorizes the Hart staff to take a position by submitting testimony, written or in person, in support of these two measures. And in addition to that, the Hart Board authorizes two of its members, Anthony Alto and Robert Yu, to submit testimony or to present testimony also in support of 2380 as well as SB 3069. Is that clear?
thank you, Chair. And I asked the question because I think on the original motion was to have the staff give testimony on behalf of.
Yes, and that was my questioning as to whether the intent of that motion was to
Right,
prevent the board, and I think we clarified that, so we now have this friendly amendment.
Thank you.
Agreed? Motion maker and and second? Yeah. Okay, so with that, any further discussions? Hearing none, do we have unanimous consent? And we do. Thank you very much. Now, we do have one more
Chair,
measure.
can I just very quickly say, by the way, Joey did bring the bills to my attention before the last board meeting. Unfortunately, of course, I went off to Japan. I didn't have enough time to get it on the agenda, but Joey was on it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. But these matters, the boards are the measures are introduced very early on in session. And the third item is House Bill 2781, which is the GET extension, which has been deferred indefinitely.
Yeah, so they just heard it. I don't think when I left, they hadn't done decision making yet, but the chair indicated that he was going to just hold back on it.
Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, I was cheating, watching the hearing, and they did DM, and the chair did defer
Indefinitely?
indefinitely. He did not specify a date.
Well, that usually, when they defer indefinitely means it's dead. So I believe that 2781 is dead. So this is the GT extension.
Yes, successor surcharge.
So we will not be required to take a position on 2781. It's not STEM. And if something happens, you can always bring it back to us, but given that it's a House bill, I doubt very much that it's going to move in any way. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
And members, that is agenda item number 11. Agenda item number 12, which is a summary of board member requests made during the February 27th, 24 Board of Directors meeting. Laurie, don't you have a hard stop? Don't you have to go?
I was hoping we could get through this. Do you folks recall, are there any requests that we need to follow up on?
I had a request earlier, and I didn't see it discussed, so I'm gonna assume that that's something that can carry over in this, and that was, I had asked Rick Keene to do an analysis of the amounts of monies that we are talking about, both in terms of the CAP and the GET collections.
I thought, okay.
And I don't think I got that, but I had asked for that early on, when this whole issue came up in the beginning. Because we did discuss it in finance, right? We discussed the CAP and then the GET collections. Yeah.
So I'm not quite clear on what you want. So not a comparison of what has been collected versus.
I want to know, in other words, what is due and owing for a fiscal year, or a year? And then what we were given due to the CAP. And I kind of wanted an identification of what exactly the CAP was and how they computed that CAP. Because I think that there is this sense that somehow we're not collecting GET like we may have anticipated that we were going to collect it, whether it's on the recovery plan or whatever it may have been looking at. But I think it's because of this CAP that we're now finding out about. So I would like to have a clear assessment of exactly, well, first of all, when the CAP, I think the CAP came in effect in 2020, and we do have in the bill descriptions of funds that were not given to us in 2022, 2023. But what I wanted from Rick was, basically what the GET was, what we collected, when this CAP plays in, how that affects our GET numbers, and then what it looks like.
Yeah, Lori, I think it's basically the information that Brent used to give me quarterly. He emails it to me. That shows not just the GET collections, but also the TAT collections and what the balance is in the mass transit fund. I could email it back to you because that was the sheet that he gave to me every 3 months. Yeah. And I think Rick has the same sheet. I know you and Rick are on the same email. It wasn't exclusively to me.
I'm not sure if that's what she wants though. So.
Oh.
I want I want to know what exactly we're entitled to get and what we got. So if that's part of and I believe this is part of the discussion, so I want that. But I also did want a specific description of this CAP and how it affects what we think we're entitled to and why, and of course, the fact that we didn't get it, and when we are going to get it. Because I think part of the problems with the collection is not only the GET and TAT, that's one issue as to what we're due and owing, but the actual amount that we get is tied to the invoices and everything else. So I want to know, what is it that we're entitled to? What is it that we got? Why didn't we get it? Because I think that that's a critical component of how we look at this project, is what the revenue source is. And I think people have to look at, why is it that, everyone says, oh, we don't have enough money, but we don't float bonds. We don't do anything else. And the reason why is because we really do have revenue coming in. And if Rick has further questions, he can email me and I'll tell him what it is. But I do want to know, and I think the public's entitled to it and the board's entitled to it. I think board members are, especially when we found out that there was this cap, I think board members are very curious as to what it is that we're looking at in terms of money. Okay?
Yeah, most of that stuff, just from what I understand, Brent has, and the cap, is in the budget. So it doesn't change whether you're looking at it in October or December or January. So, and I gave a copy of that appropriation to Brent, yeah.
Okay. So was there any other requests by board members? That's always been my standing request on the GET, TAT collections. Anyone else? Laurie, anything else? Okay. Not members, I believe with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, members.
See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.